talking about Nozzle Forward. If any of you guys haven't heard about Nozzle Forward, it's basically techniques for moving the hose line efficiently and quickly. I was in the Nozzle Forward class that was taught by Aaron Fields about a year ago, and I wanted to pass on my knowledge to you guys. Here we go. I'm just going to touch on a few basic hose lays and hose movements and grips. I'm not going to go over the whole thing, we're just going to go over some of the basics. First one we're going to start with is the accordion forward. This is a good technique for just a fast, simple, clean stretch. It'll work for just about any hose load you have. It's very simple too. Once you get the hose load on your shoulder, you want the nozzle at about your hip. That's where your right hand's going to be. Your left hand is going to reach out and grab either 1, 2, or 3, or however many you need, bites right in the middle. It's going to depend on how long of a stretch you have. It works in failure or success. If you get off the engine and the hose bundle is all tangled up and stuff, this will still work. That's why this is a very good technique for laying out hose. Basically, all you're doing is you're dropping the load away from the structure, and you're stretching it towards your target. It's a universal stretch, like I said. It works with just about any hose lay, and it works just about anywhere. So if you show up to a fire and all you can remember is the accordion forward, you'll be good to go. All right, so that's what the accordion forward should look like once it's laid out. As you drop the hose bundle from your shoulder, you're going to maintain the middle bites in your left hand and the nozzle in your right hand. You're going to turn around, and so you'll drop it about here, turn around, and you're going to stretch out the hose. At the end, depending on how much space you have, it's going to look similar to that. And as you advance into the fire, the hose is just going to get pulled. And, usually it works out, no kinks. All right, the next hose lay I'm going to talk about is the coil and the coil prop. This is meant for confined space areas. It's slower, and it can turn into a mess if you mess it up, but it's very effective if you do it right. The coil prop can clear a confined space area. For example, if you do a coil prop up against a wall on a landing in a stairway, it'll keep that landing pretty clear. You'll just have the hose out of the way, and it's still accessible and easily able to operate from the stairwell. The key to doing this is when you put your hose bundle down, you want to take the nozzle and put that to your knee first. Then the next bite is going to go to your arm, and you just alternate between knee and arm. And once you get all that hose on your arms, all you're going to do is you're either going to step through it and put it on the ground and charge it like that, or you're going to hold it up against a wall and you're going to charge it like that. And once it's charged, you'll be able to set it up against the wall. So that's just the coil normally. You can do that just about anywhere on the ground. Or if you're in a confined space area, you're going to do the coil prop. As I said here, he sticks his right foot through the hole. His left foot is usually going to be on the nozzle to control the nozzle. And then the hose is going to be wrapped around your arms. As they charge it, by the end it should look like that. You can see that's where the nozzle was, his foot stepping on it to maintain control. All right, the clamp. This method is for flowing hose lines, and it's meant for usually just one person. It can be used with 2.5-inch lines. The key here is to you're going to clamp the hose right there to the ground with your ankle and shin bone. What that does is it uses your body weight, and it reduces the nozzle reaction by forcing that hose to the ground and reducing some of that nozzle reaction that you may have with like a 2.5 or if we go blitz pressure. It's a lot to handle for one person, but by using the clamp, it makes it a lot easier for the nozzleman if he's by himself. Because it also frees up the heel man if he needs to go back and pull more hose. The guy on the nozzle can still fight fire effectively and maintain control of the hose while the other heel man is going back and getting more hose. So. Very good technique you can use if you're by yourself. The clamp slide. This works for obviously the clamp, and you need to advance your hose now, and your heelman is still back on the line pulling hose wherever. You need to advance forward. This is probably one of the better methods you'll have. It works best with 1 3/4. It can be done with 2.5, but with 2.5 it's a little heavy and it's a little more difficult. It can be done, but it works best with 1 3/4. It's a quick way to advance the hose while maintaining your same position. Some people will get in the habit of doing just the hip grip, flowing water, and then if they want to move, shutting down the lines and getting out of the position they were to move the hose, and then getting in the position, then resetting up and then opening the nozzle again. This way you can shut down quickly, maintain your same position, move the hose along by yourself, and then set up again and open your nozzle. It uses a pendulum motion. See how he started from the clamp slide, or the clamp, and then he puts his hand back and he uses his pendulum motion, and he pushes with this leg. This leg drags the hose along, and works good for hit and move scenarios where you're going down a hallway, you need to hit a room really fast while you're trying to advance to the seat of the fire. Hit a room, do the clamp slide forward, and then keep advancing your hose and putting out fire. It only requires one person at the nozzle. Like I said, if the heelman's back, up in hose, you have the guy at the front can effectively move the nozzle. All right, the crooked lean. This is for two-person nozzle work. This relies on mechanical advantage, using two people. It allows for control and ability to move quickly. And so in this situation, they have plenty of control of the nozzle. They're able to move. They're able to. They can still reach fire back behind them. If this guy ducks down, they can reach fire behind him. He's got the nozzle out in front of him, so he's able to actually move it. When people get the nozzle tied up into their body like this, you don't have very much control at all. And trying to hit fire, from 360 degrees becomes almost impossible. But with this, you're able to hit fire just about anywhere. It creates triangles within the body. That's what makes this position so strong. I'll show you in the next slide where those triangles are. As we all know, the triangle is one of the strongest shapes, right? So basically, you're using mechanical advantage, using two people together. You must maintain the lean, though, to be effective. So this guy is going to be leaning on him, and vice versa. That's what makes this position effective. The push, this is used in the crooked lean position. The need arises for a push when you're in a structure fire, not just a contents fire. So basically, if you have a room that's already flashed over, now it's spreading down the hallway, maybe into adjacent rooms, the push is going to work really good. When you're trying to make it down a hallway and you have the structural members are actually on fire at this point, you can call for a push so you can make it down the hallway, so you can fight all that rollover coming towards you and actually make it to the seat of the fire. So what happens if you don't use a method like this, you'll try to attack the fire, and then you'll shut down to reposition your hose line and move forward. But by that point, the seat of the fire, that room's already flashed over, so you're having heavy flames come over you. And so it's not enough just to hit it and shut your bail off and then move forward. You have to have constant flow in order to actually make that hallway. And so that's what the push does for you. It allows you to flow water and move at the same time. This relies on mechanical advantage like the last slide I showed you. The nozzle person is basically lifted right here while the heel person gets under him and pushes him along. Essentially, when you do this, the person on the nozzle, he does hardly any work. And you feel like you're just getting propelled forward as you're flowing water. It actually works really well. This person, all he needs to do is maintain that lean and then scoot this foot along while this person gets low, pulls the hose, uses his legs and mechanical advantage, gets right up underneath the shoulder, and pushes him along. Definitely, though, to do this, communication is important, because if you're not communicating and you're not knowing what each other are thinking, you're not going to be able to effectively move. It's going to be a little blotchy. All right, so the triangles, like I was talking about, see how his body makes these triangle shapes, both of them? And they work against each other in order to get really good nozzle control and reduce the nozzle reaction from these lines. All right, just a quick note on moving hose. One thing we need to make sure we're doing when we're moving hose is corners is one of our biggest problems that we have. If you have two people in the nozzle and nobody back humping hose, what's going to happen is the hose is just going to get stuck around all the corners, and the guy at the nozzle is going to be trying to pull against all that friction, against all those corners, trying to get more hose to advance the seat of the fire. If you stick one guy in every corner like this, what this guy's going to do is he's going to get his bottle right up against the corner, get in a position like that, and all he's going to do is just move hose that way. And what this allows is for this guy to easily move hose along without getting too fatigued. Because if you can see that, it's not too tiring doing that. And then the S finish is the last thing I'm going to talk about. While this guy's pulling hose, if the nozzle team stops and they're not moving at all, what this guy should be doing is pulling even more hose and making this S shape. All he's going to do is he's going to push the hose into this wall, and it'll just keep going and form this nice S shape. And what you get with that is extra hose so that if you need to move forward and this guy needs to go to the next corner, he's got all this hose that I already pulled. So once he gets to the next corner, he's got a lot of buffer zone to keep pulling hose in order to keep advancing lines. All right, so my sources, I used Aaron Fields' Nozzle Forward manual. He works for the Seattle Fire Department. He goes around the country teaching this class. I definitely recommend taking it if he ever comes around again. Any questions? All right, that concludes my presentation. Thanks, guys.